Hello and welcome to the Under Center podcast. I am your host for today, Fionn, and I am joined by two of the biggest reasons that Aaron Rodgers allegedly will not return to the Packers, and that is Jake and Dara. Lads, how are you today?
I'm doing well. You know what they call me? They call me Jake Littlefinger for many reasons. One of them is because I've been whispering Aaron Rodgers' ear, but we won't get into the other reasons. That's for the After Hours Under Center podcast.
I just told Aaron Rodgers that he couldn't do it on a wet Wednesday night in Stoke, and then he took me up on that offer. He's on his way to Stoke now to start playing some football for them instead.
You know these quarterbacks so sensitive. We're starting to see it this season. Jake has tried to step up into the quarterback role this season in training so far.
When you've got a cannon like this,
we're seeing a big change in attitude from the running back Jake to the quarterback Jake.
Although I am just saying I did catch a peach from Dicey at training on Sunday while someone else was trying to cover me. So you have some competition.
Top coverage safety was burned.
One-handed catch while getting the other arm pulled. So it was definitely an interference.
Yeah.
It was the safety.
I'd like to point out afterwards, I told him it was a one-handed catch, and he goes, "Was it?" I blacked out.
Once I hit top speed, I black out, and I don't remember a thing.
Yep, that's it.
Well, guys, we have a great show for you today, but before we get started, will you please like and subscribe to us here at the Under Center podcast? It helps us out, helps us get the algorithm going, and also leave a comment below as well if you've got some thoughts on what we have to say today. We love that interaction. So today, we were talking a little bit during the week about how there's quite a lot of teams in the NFL that have brand new quarterbacks or new faces that could be quarterbacks around the league. And we thought we'd have a look at team by team who we think is the presumptive starter and whether we think that's going to be an upgrade, a downgrade, or roughly the same quality that they had last season. So there's a lot of teams, so we're going to dive straight in. And Dara, I'll start with you. And we're going to start with the New England Patriots. They, of course, drafted Mac Jones this year in the draft. They also have Cam Newton still on the roster. He went 7-9 as a starter. We're going to assume Mac Jones, for the case of this argument, starts the season. Where do you think they end up? Are they going to break even, be ahead of the curve, or below the curve they were last season?
See, it's very difficult because there's such different players as well. Cam's more of a runner, and Mac Jones likes to sort of throw it around a bit. I have them actually being, if Mac Jones starts week one and plays throughout the whole season, I actually have them lower than 7-9 next year because he's a rookie quarterback, because there's still question marks over his ability at the NFL level, and because I know they've put a lot of work into getting some top tight ends, but they haven't gotten really any quality wide receivers there for him to throw to. So I think they're actually going to go down from 7-9 next year if Mac Jones is starter week one.
Yeah, for whatever reason, a lot of people thought Mac Jones was going to go in the top 5, Dara including. Maybe he was just a bit more hopeful than the rest of us, but most realists here on this side knew that Mac Jones could not possibly go to the 49ers. There was just wishful thinking from Dara on his side, but I'm going to have to agree with Dara. I think he's not as refined a prospect as I would have liked. I certainly didn't think Cam did an excellent job last year, but 7-9, it's not going to be too easy for a rookie quarterback to get that. And also, if you just think of that AFC East, it's a lot of up-and-coming teams. The Bills, they're not going to beat the Bills. They're going to be swept by the Bills if Mac Jones is playing that quarterback there. The Dolphins, again, it's not going to look good for Mac Jones against the Dolphins, and maybe they beat the Jets, but that's kind of anyone's game at that point. The Jets are the Jets, as we know. So yeah, definitely gonna go. I'll probably have them around maybe 4 wins, if even, maybe less.
I have them breaking even. I was gonna do under like you guys were, but I've been a fan of Mac Jones much more than maybe you guys were. I quite liked his skill set. I thought it would transfer pretty well. So 7, while it's a good amount of wins, it's not a ridiculously good season. So I could see a rookie quarterback scraping together 7 wins. Possibly that extra game might help him out a little bit at the end of the season. We'll move on now to the New York Jets, and that is almost certainly going to be Zach Wilson at the starting quarterback. They managed only 2 wins last season. Really quickly, before we do any summaries, Jake, are you going up, down, or even?
I'm going up. I have
Dara?
to go up.
Yeah, up. You have to. You can't go any further down than 2-14.
I've got up as well. Jake, do you want to give us a quick rundown on
Yeah.
your kind of summary as to why he's
I'll
going to
give
be
you a
up?
little summary. I think, as I said, I'm not a fan of the Patriots at the minute, even though they kind of loaded up on some talent. But then again, so does every team in the offseason. Zach Wilson, clearly a better prospect than Mac Jones. And then just if they can scrape out 1 or 2 wins against the Patriots, they're already going to have that win percentage going up.
The next team on my list is the Denver Broncos. Now, they have Drew Lock still on the roster. Most people would agree he did not have that step up on his previous season, last season, that everyone was hoping for. They've brought in Teddy Bridgewater. We're going to assume Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the starting quarterback. Dara, he got 5 wins. The Broncos got 5 wins last season. Do you see them up in that, below that, or right about even?
I actually have them right about even. I think the quarterback is not going to be the issue next year. I think it's actually more going to be coaching that's going to be the issue, and possibly defense that is going to cause their downfall, because I like Teddy Bridgewater. I wish him every success wherever he goes. It's too bad it didn't work out in Carolina. Hopefully he can do some good stuff in Denver to prove that it was a good 5-11 for him next season, or 5-12 or 6-11. But yeah, I have them about even.
And Jake?
Yeah, I'm gonna go up on this one. I think Teddy Bridgewater gives you a little bit more than Drew Lock. From what we've seen in the camps and stuff, Drew Lock has had a little bit of a bad run so far. But again, it is only camp. But I certainly think that Teddy has kind of fallen himself into a little bit journeyman role at the minute. But I think he still has a good bit of talent, and I think he can certainly do a lot better than 5.
I said down, guys, and I think the Broncos didn't add enough talent this offseason. And I think Teddy Bridgewater hasn't played a full season since that injury. We saw him only in a backup capacity in the Saints last season. And I just amn't willing to give him the benefit of the doubt of getting back to where he was until he shows me. So I'm going to bet, while it's only 5 wins, I think he might struggle to get those wins based on also the talent around him. The next team on my list I have here is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they are nailed on with the number 1 pick to start Trevor Lawrence. Jake, where do you think they end up? They only got a single solitary win last season. Surely to God, you have them going up, right?
I think you gotta be silly to go anything but up on this one. If they squeak out a win or a tie and a win, they're definitely gonna be doing a whole lot better. And I mean, Trevor Lawrence is not a scrub. He's certainly gonna have his rookie pains, but he's still Trevor Lawrence. A lot of people are calling him the next Andrew Luck, so I'm gonna go up on that one.
Dara, you must agree, surely.
I do agree. I do think Trevor Lawrence is going to improve the Jaguars, but I don't think by a whole lot. I think sort of the likes of Justin Herbert last season sort of broke the mold for rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. There is a lot of growing pains, and I think that we are going to see Lawrence struggle at times next year. And again, like I said with the Broncos, that there's coaching issues. There's going to be coaching issues with the Jaguars as well. They are going to be up, but not by a whole lot.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. They're going to be up, but only because their previous record was 1. I do not trust the coaching staff they have there, to be honest. I forget the head coach's name.
Urban Meyer.
Urban Myers. Yeah, he had a lot of talent with him at Ohio State. They got a lot of 5-star guys. They were basically big sharks in a small pond, and that is not what the Jacksonville Jaguars are. And it's a whole different thing. Coaching pros who all believe they're good enough to be there versus kids who are just happy to be there. So I think that's going to play a big role.
It's not a pond. It's more like a swamp down there in Jacksonville.
It's more.
I think.
We're going to move on now to a team that me and Jake know very well, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. They will probably technically have a new starting quarterback. We did see him last season play for them, and that is Jalen Hurts. Guys, do we think he's going to be up or down? They got 4 wins last season. Darryl, I'll start with you.
See, it depends. I have them up if they keep Zach Ertz. But if they let him go, which it looks like they're going to, I think they'd probably be around even at 4-11 then again. I know they drafted Devonta Smith, but that's one wide receiver in a group that of pretty bad wide receivers. You know, you double Devontae Smith and there you go, because the other guys aren't going to do much. The running backs are still question over, and the line is always injured. So, yeah, up if they keep Ertz, because him and Goddard are quite a good duo, but stay the same if Ertz leaves.
Jake?
I have them. I'm stuck between dropping a deuce and getting the big 0 or going even. I'm going to say go even. I think 4 is a pretty manageable number even for Jalen Hurts. You add Devontae Smith, a little bit of firepower there, but they are the Eagles, and it is the NFC least, so they might squeak out 3 wins against the other NFC least teams. So I'm going to say even.
I'm with you guys. I said even as well. I think he's the worst quarterback in the division. As much as I'd love that to be Daniel Jones, I think Hurts is even worse, and Dak Prescott is only marginally better. But
there's only a couple of shows ago, I think we're both agreed that Dak Prescott was the worst quarterback in the division.
Well, we have to say that whenever it comes up, but when we're talking about the Eagles, they have a terrible quarterback as well.
There can be joint worst quarterbacks.
They can both be terrible. Let's be honest, they can both be terrible.
Oh, joint worst and joint first, is it? Is that how it is?
Before we move on, guys, the Eagles also have Joe Flacco on that roster. If he starts, what do you think happens there? You think no chance? But judging by Jake's reaction.
They go 2-15 if he starts.
Okay.
So the Jets a couple of years
Flacco.
ago.
So we're saying Jalen Hurts is terrible, and Flacco's even a downgrade from Jalen Hurts. That's our conclusion here on the other side of the podcast.
Flacco's hitting a Jay Cutler curve. He's gotten to that stage where he just doesn't give a bollocks about what happens anymore. You can see it in his face, like he's regressed to a backup mentor role. He doesn't like it, so.
Joe Flacco just reminds me of like the guy who would play Sunday League football with you, like, but he would show up well overweight and smoking 20 cigarettes before the match even started, and then like
I might show up on a Sunday morning, had 8 pints the night before, still a pint in the hand.
Mice, that's usually. The next team we have is the Los Angeles Rams, and I think this is the first interesting one we've had so far on the list. They, of course, got rid of Jared Goff. They brought in Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's a quarterback that a lot of people said is much better than the team he played on for all those years, and now he's moved on to a competitor. Even Dara would begrudgingly have to agree that they're a pretty good team in the NFL. So is it time for him to step up? The thing that makes it interesting is they had quite a decent mark. They got 10 wins last season. Jake, do you think Stafford is going to upgrade that offense, or are they going to struggle this year?
Yeah, I think Stafford gives them an immediate upgrade over Jared Goff. I think the three of us may have agreed at one point that Goff wasn't the guy at all in Los Angeles. I think Matt Stafford has got a huge arm. He's put around one of the best play callers currently in the NFL. And a strong offense and a strong defense. I think this makes them like a Super Bowl contender.
Dara?
Yeah, they are definitely a contender. You know, they have that defense. It'd be interesting to see with the new coordinator how that thing's going to work out. We'll find out more about that later. But yeah, Stafford under center or Goff. You have Stafford in your team, you're instantly better. You know, they had a good record last season. They may have a similar one. They may go slightly up, but you know, they are still going to be around that double-digit wins for sure, challenging for the division.
Yeah, I had a little bit similar to what you were just saying there, Dara. I had them breaking even, and I think long-term, I agree with you guys. I think Stafford is certainly an upgrade at quarterback from Goff, but given he played so long in the Lions, he's been a one-team guy, I don't think that transition is necessarily guaranteed to be seamless into the Rams offense. They have a fantastic defense, as you guys both mentioned. I think that keeps them on an even keel, and I think it takes a little bit of pressure off Stafford. He doesn't have to play amazing. So I think they get back to their 10 wins, maybe 11. Maybe they win that extra game this season, but I had them at evens. We're going to move on now to probably the most hotly anticipated quarterback. Certainly, we know a few Bears fans. That is, of course, Justin Fields for the Chicago Bears. They went a gloriously mediocre 8-8 with 2 quarterbacks last season. Is one quarterback a guarantee to go up, or is the rookie could bring that offense down for a year before he gets his feet under him? Dara, what do you think?
Well, they definitely can't be even because you can't go 8-8 anymore. But I'm going up. I'd say it's definitely. It's interesting to see who's going to start week 1. Will it be Justin Fields or Andy Dalton? Because it is a tough game. They have week 1 away at the Rams. So either way, I think it's going to be better than last season for sure. But I think we might see some fan frustration because Justin Fields gets held out of games for too long. Because I don't think he's going to start straight away. I think that's going to be Andy Dalton's team, at least for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say, much to our good friend the Irish Bears on Twitter, that they're gonna have a slightly worse record this year than they had last year. I think we know what Andy Dalton is, and once they start Justin Fields, it's gonna have the rookie pains, and it's just gonna be pretty tough for them. So I gotta go lower. I have to go lower.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jake. I think they're going to be down exactly the same reasons. Look, it's hard for a rookie quarterback to win 7 games. On my list, I don't have another rookie quarterback getting anywhere close to 7 games. All the other ones that are going to go up are hovering around the 2 or 1 win mark that they have to beat. So,
but they could get 2 guaranteed wins against the Packers next year if Aaron Rodgers continues his holding.
Well, if Jordan Love's as good as they say he is, given they're willing to just let Aaron Rodgers walk around and do whatever he wants and say, well, we have Love, so that's grand. That to me tells me he must be the next superstar. So I don't know if that's necessarily guaranteed. I don't know.
That's coming from Armchair GM feeling there.
Yeah.
Just quote and clip that one.
Yeah. Armchair GM, not armchair quarterback and GM, which is what you guys want to be going on in the NFL. We mentioned his the swap earlier on. The next team on the list is the Detroit Lions, and that is, of course, Jared Goff coming over from the Rams. He has to beat 5 wins this season. The Lions, though, in my opinion, aren't a fantastic team. What do you guys think, Dara? We'll start with you.
Oh, they're going down this year. This is not going to be a good year, I don't think, for the Lions. I know we spoke to Lions fan channel there, and they were really hyped up about Dan Campbell, but you know, for all the hype he brings into press conferences, I'm sure that he brings this rah-rah attitude into training too. You know, when you're losing games, that sort of that gets old really quickly, and that gets on people's nerves. And I think if they don't win games, which I don't think they will, because Jared Goff, when he had people to throw to, he wasn't the most accurate quarterback. Now he hasn't got anyone really to throw to apart from the tight end Hawkinson, who's really good, and Terrell Williams if he's ever fit. You know, so I think this is going to be a bad season. I'm going to say they're actually going to get less than 5 wins.
Jake?
Yeah, myself, I have them going evens. I think, like we know, Goff has at least some talent. I'm not a fan of him. I think he makes a lot of mistakes. They did lose Kenny Golladay, thank God.
Where did he go?
He went to the Giants.
Oh, did he? Oh,
under radar. They probably got him at a steal, did they? They probably didn't pay him much at all.
For sure, yeah. No, didn't pay him a whole bunch of money at all. But I mean, for Daniel Jones' sake, I am happy that. Anyway, we're not talking about the Giants. They have the same quarterback for this year at least. Anyway, so back to the Lions. I have them going evens. Goff has some strength, some arm. Dara discounting Marvin Jones there. I think he is a quality player.
He's gone.
Is he?
He's gone.
I feel like I should have known that, but okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll have them evens and then I'll keep it evens and I'll
I gotta say they're down. I don't mind Jared Goff again. I do think he has a lot of limitations. He's not a stud quarterback in the NFL that everyone maybe thought he was going to be after that first year in the Rams. And it's similar to some other teams we've already talked about. It's like they just don't have that talent around them, a bit like the Denver Broncos. It's going to be maybe not on his shoulders. It's not his fault maybe, but I just don't see him getting even 5 wins this season, which is probably disappointing for him. But maybe if the Lions can complete their rebuild soon, by the end of his contract, he might get a few wins there.
I have to just jump in there. I just Googled it there, Dara. Yeah, he's gone. He's on the Jags. I looked at the receiver core. It is not looking good for the Lions. So I might have to change and go lower.
That's going down.
That is a terrible, terrible team.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate. They gave a whole lot up to get to give away. What did they do? What was the trade again?
They didn't give up anything. They got a buttload of. They got 2 firsts, a third, and Jared Goff from.
Because they had to take on his contract. So it's kind of like Goff's at the end of his run here. Like, we got to be honest, he's going to have to sign for a discount afterwards.
The next team I have on my list is the New Orleans Saints, and It might have been an interesting one. We'll see what the lads think about this, because it's probably the closest quarterback battle that we have ongoing in the NFL at the moment. They, of course, have Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston under contract for this season. So who's going to be the starting quarterback is not necessarily nailed on. For me, what takes this out of the realm of interesting is the fact that they have to beat 12 wins. And I don't think either of those two quarterbacks that I just mentioned is going to beat 12 wins. I have them down, and probably way down. I think they're going to be right around 6 or 7 wins this season. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, 12 is it's quite a high number to beat, especially when you're going from Drew Brees to Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill. Like, say if we're going to rate them, I think if it's Jameis, you're probably looking at 6 to 7. I think if you're on Taysom, it's probably looking at 4 to 5, maybe.
Dara?
Yeah, that I don't like that situation that the Saints have. They really don't. I know they have Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. You know, they do have weapons there that I think will get them some wins, but they're getting nowhere near those 12 wins. They're not going to hit double digits. You know, if they get 7 and 9 next, or 7 and 10, isn't it next year?
7 and 10 next year. Yeah,
or 8 and 9. You know, I would put that down as a pretty decent season for the Saints trying to get through this year.
Yeah, it might be a long year for Saints fans this year, but that's okay. They had a pretty easy go of it the last few years. It's nice to see them struggle a little bit.
It's a pretty mad one, because they have obviously Michael Thomas and Kamara, so like you're kind of wasting good years with them players because you're going to have mediocre QB play. So it's pretty rough.
They have to be the most upset of anyone in the league, I think, at the moment, in terms of...
Well, to be fair, you got to feel for Michael Thomas a little bit as well, because let's be real, even though when Drew Brees was there, he struggled towards the end of the year, you know, so he hasn't did what he could do with a decent quarterback there in New Orleans. You know, I know he got the reception record there a couple of years ago, but he could have smashed that record, and he probably could have beat the receiving yards record too if he had someone decent there with him. But look, we'll see. Maybe next off season he might get someone.
A team that have maybe been on the opposite end of the spectrum to the Saints the last few seasons, the Carolina Panthers. They've brought in a new quarterback in Sam Darnold. He's obviously been in the Jets the last few seasons, and he's had, maybe I would describe, up and down. I don't know if you guys would agree. He's definitely flashed talent, but has struggled at times to keep that talent consistent and made some quite poor mistakes. He has to be 5 wins this season, and that's going to be tight, I think. Dara, what do you think?
Well, this is it for Sam Darnold now. You know, there's no more excuses. Adam Gase isn't there anymore coaching you. You know, you're not in a bad situation with the Jets. You're in Carolina. They've got some good weapons there for you. They've got a star running back there for you. So it doesn't work out. He's got no one else to blame but himself. But I actually think they're going to be around the same next year. I think the loss of Curtis Samuel is a big loss for them, especially. Christian McCaffrey's coming back from an injury. We don't know what he's going to be like when he comes back from the injury, or if he can stay healthy for a full season. So, you know, there's going to be a lot on Sam Darnold's shoulders. I'm not totally convinced that he can carry the Panthers to a better season than maybe 5 or 6 wins.
I'm going to go on the opposite spectrum there. I think they're going to go a bit higher. Not too much. They're going to go sky high, but I do certainly think they have a strong team. The return of Christian McCaffrey is obviously a huge one if he can stay healthy, which you said, Dara. Well, I think he only played 3 games, I think, last season. So, yeah, I mean, if you get him for 6 or 7 games, you just put the ball on him. He's gonna get you where you need to go. So I think they're probably ending up around 6 to 7 wins, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have them breaking even. I think Sam Darnold kind of flashes what he did in the Jets. It's not a great team around him, similar to the Jets. I think he can get them back to 5 wins, but I don't think that's enough for him. I think a couple of seasons of that and he's going to be dropped out, and I don't think he finds a starting job after that, unfortunately for him. I just don't think he's going to take advantage of what he had in front of him. We move on now.
Like I said a couple of shows ago, Sam Darnold will be a Super Bowl winning quarterback as a backup.
And that might be the hottest take The golden hot take of Dara's career. I think he might ride that all the way to victory in 5 years' time if any of us remember it.
I'll take some picture bets on that if anybody wants to go against me.
If Brock Osweiler can win a Super Bowl as a backup, Sam Darnold can too.
Definitely. So we're going to move on now to probably Jake's most hotly anticipated team. He's getting ready here to burn this thing to the ground. And that is, of course, the Washington football team. They've brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick, also known as Ryan Fitzmagic, also known as Ryan Fitztragic. They had a division-winning 7 wins last season. This might be tricky, so I'm going to give my opinion at the end. Jake, we'll let you go first. Let us know what you think of this one.
I'm just going to give you just the helmet here, just in case you need to take a bashing.
That it's going to be that rough.
Yeah, it's going to. No. Okay, I'll take it easy on you.
Did you bring that specifically up for the show because you knew you were?
That was his gag. Yeah, he had that gag.
I'm going to go with prop gags from now on. That's going to be my new thing. So I'll give you this one, John. I think you are the second best team in the NFC least. So I'll give you 7 wins. I think you'll match it. Maybe if you're lucky, get the 8 or get 6. But I certainly think just right on that line, I think you're going to stay the same. I think you're going to see the 31 for 31 that me and Dara have been harping on about for quite some time now. You're not going to see the good side of Fitzmagic. You're certainly hitting Fitztragic in his stride. So getting 7 wins out of it.
Are you going to pile on here, or are you going to come to my
aid? Firstly, I'm not as much on the 31 for 31 bandwagon as Jake is.
Don't jump off now.
There's definitely no. See, because I saw that fence over there and I'm sitting on it, right? So, because I think there's a chance that he could do that. Sure, anybody could do that. I don't think he will. He will have a lot of interceptions. 31 for 31. I don't know, but I actually do have yous doing better than last year. I actually think that you're going to have a winning record next year, but not double-digit wins. I think maybe a 9-8 that you're going to have. Will that be enough to win the division? I don't know. But I'm not basing that solely on the quarterback. It's the other things that you've done in the offseason with the other acquisitions that you've made that has made me believe that you can get up to about a 9 and an 8 this year. So that's what I'm thinking. You're going to go slightly up to a winning season, but I still don't see the double-digit wins.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
The Giants is going to be pretty rough.
I completely agree with you, Dara. I had exactly the same thing happening. I think just having one quarterback that can play at least averagely well, let's say, so 1 week we get Fitztragic, 1 week we get Fitzmagic. I think that gets us back to 7. I think the added benefit of our good defense and the additions we've made, I think that ticks us up. Maybe 1 win, maybe 2 wins. Like you said, I don't see 3 wins getting us to double digits. And I do think it will be extremely tight in the NFC East again this season. But before we move on, Dara, I have one question for you. We've joked a lot about Ryan Fitzmagic's 31 for 31, and I want to ask you a direct question here. Which would you rather? 31 for 31 or the real life 11 for 11 that Jake got last season?
Oh, that's a tough one. First of all, I'm going to say a big thank you to Ryan Fitzpatrick for listening to the podcast. It's confirmed he does listen to the podcast. He actually put up a picture. He sent it to me and I uploaded it on our page because he didn't want all the interactions.
His agents were causing up problems. Yeah,
exactly. But 31 for 31 or 11 for 11. 31 for 31 would definitely be more exciting.
Well, here's the thing, Darren. I'm going to put this to you, right? Every touchdown 31 is points. Not every interception is points against. You could throw an interception in the red zone and it ends in a touchback and you give them the ball on 25.
It's a fair point. It is a fair point.
So 31 touchdowns, I think you take that every day over Daniel Jones's measly 11 touchdowns that one Kenny Golladay wide receiver is going to spike that up to 25. Jake hopes this.
Well, let's just be real, okay? Let's put it this way, right? Daniel Jones obviously has a bit of an issue. I'll give you that one. 11 for 11 does not look pretty in blue.
Hey, he can throw a deep ball. You just can't throw any of the other balls.
Yeah. But, having a weak offensive line, your star running back go down, and no wide receivers to throw to is certainly going to hurt you. And also, if you look back at any of the Giants games, and I'll even put them up on the Twitter, maybe 4 of them interceptions, maybe 6 were caused by Evan Engram's buttery hands, just the ball slipping out of his hands and gone. So I'll give you.
Yeah, but he's playing next season.
He probably should be 11 and 7, 11 and 8, maybe. But certainly, I can't be looking at 11 touchdowns for the rest of my Giants career and being happy with that. The worst scoring offense in the league cannot continue.
Jake, actually, here's a question now. That we're asking
pile
people.
On Jake Day, is it?
This is a question. No, because you actually mentioned about your star wide receiver. Saquon Barkley went down early last year. The season before, he didn't have a great year. And then the season before, that was his first year, wasn't it? He's going into his 4th season now.
Yeah.
Now he's going to want mega bucks to sign a new deal. I'm guessing an Ezekiel Elliott type deal. Do you give him that money after this if you see a similar production from as in year 2?
Are you talking about Barkley now?
Yes, Barkley. Yeah.
So if Barkley has a year 2, or has this coming year like his second year, do I pay him big bucks? What's the Giants' record at the end of next year?
I'm not talking about records.
Like 5 and 7 or whatever that makes it. 5 and 10. 5
okay,
and
so
12.
If you have,
12, yeah.
If it's 5 and 12, I'm saying pay him big bucks, and I'll tell you why. We have 2 first-round picks. If we're 5 and 12, we're getting rid of Daniel Jones. I can guarantee that. We're getting the next quarterback. We're going to trade up and get the best quarterback. So why not give your rookie running back, who's definitely an all-star, give him all the money in the world for 4 years, get your rookie quarterback deal out of the way, and then you can run him into the ground and trade him away after or something at the peak.
But you see, I'm only because it's not really a popular thing to sign your running back to big money.
People always say don't pay running backs. You can get them anywhere in the league, and you certainly can. You can get them in the 4th round, the 5th round. You can get them anywhere. But if you have a rookie quarterback, you can certainly spend the money on your running back if he's as good as Barkley can be.
But see, there's the important thing that you said. Can be. Hasn't shown that he is. I know he was injured. I'll concede that end of it. But okay, he had a good first year, but the second season he was quite poor. Now he broke out a little bit in the last few games of the season, but I think that's more when you're coming up against teams that know they have nothing to play for.
There's some things you do have to think about, and obviously you have to take a lot into account. American football is a game of there's 11 on 11. It's 11 different individual battles going on. The running back can but he certainly can't create as many yards as the offensive line can give him. And the Giants have consistently ranked in offensive lines in the bottom maybe 8th. Bottom 5 in probably the past 6 years. That's certainly not going to help. Now, you can argue whether or not it was right to pick him up at 2 when you have such a bad offensive line. I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. But certainly, if you can upgrade the offensive line, you can have a stronger quarterback and some good wide receivers. It's going to take a lot of pressure off. You can't load the box with 8 people if you have Kenny Golladay and other speeders on the outside.
But that's the thing. But like you said, you're giving a lot of money to a running back in a position it's not very fashionable to give a lot of money to on the potential rather than what we've seen so far. Like with Zeke, what we had seen is he did dominate the running back position when he got paid. Obviously things changed, but so he was kind of warranting his pay increase. With Saquon, it's a lot of, well, he could be this if we have this, he could be this if we have that. So, but if those things don't come to fruition, you're paying a lot of money for a guy who's playing behind obviously a poor O-line because you paid all that money to him, so you can't allocate the funds to the O-line instead.
Yeah, I can give you that. I can understand that. But again, if we had a bad record next year, we're not going to be paying Daniel Jones' extension. We're certainly going to get a rookie quarterback. So at that point, you need to load up on good players. And I would argue that almost any player you could pick up in free agency or in a draft, Barkley is as good and definitely could be better. So I'll pay him if I have a rookie quarterback. If we have a playoff season next year, it might be harder to justify giving him that money. But it all depends, I think, on how Daniel Jones plays. Because if you have to get a rookie quarterback the following year, you splurge, you spend all that dollars. That's what we're trying to see now, and that's the latest trend to come up in the NFL is when you have your rookie quarterback, go on that spending spree and get yourself all these nice toys to play with and try to get to the Super Bowl. We've seen that so many times in the past maybe 5 years.
Yeah. So then would you think it's advisable then to even just take the 5th-year option and give yourself that more time?
Yeah, that's another one. Like if you say maybe we top the NFC East next year, then you say,
it's a big maybe.
It is a big maybe. When you sweep the Washington football team and the Eagles and lose one to the Cowboys, you certainly are going to be at the top of the NFC East. Then I say you pay Barkley on his 5th-year contract, see how it plays out the following year. But you need a rookie quarterback the following year or pay Daniel Jones, and that's where it really comes down to, because you can't pay both. From what it looks like at the minute, Daniel Jones is not going to get a huge extension, so we'll have to see how he plays off with a better core around him.
Okay. Hey. I was interested in that ask because it was mostly because I have Barkley in a dynasty league for like the last 2 years and he's done nothing but
bin him.
You trade him.
Trade him to some sucker. Who's the biggest sucker in the league? Trade him. Like you can live with a 2nd-year bounce back season, but he's not worth it. And I think this conversation highlights one thing to me, and that is that we either die a hero or live long enough to become also an armchair GM, as Jake slagged me earlier in the show, and it's just gone on a 10-minute rant about how the New York Giants are going to be.
I could go longer. I know you can. Longer.
I know you can, but unfortunately you can't, because we're moving on to the Indianapolis Colts, and they have a new quarterback, and his name is Carson Wentz. Obviously, they had Phillip Rivers last season. He's retired now. He had an okay season, actually, double-digit wins. That's pretty good. They got to 11 wins last season. Jake, does Carson Wentz do any better? Is he going to be worse, or is he going to break even?
That's a tough one. 11 is quite high, I think. But that team is quite strong as well. So if we can see MVP Carson Wentz or MVP style Carson Wentz, I certainly think they have a strong enough team that they could be playoff caliber and possibly even get to the Super Bowl. But it's a tough one. I think that's the toughest one out of them all to call whether or not he can. Do we know he's good or do we know he's bad anymore? I think I will have to say lower, because I think 11 is quite high.
Dara, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think 11 wins is asking a lot for Carson Wentz for next year, especially in a brand new offense that he's going to have to learn. I know he sort of knows parts of it from his time with Frank Reich in Philadelphia, but I think, I think it's going to be less than 11 wins. It could even be single-digit wins next year for the Colts.
I don't go along with you guys. I have them breaking even, and the reason I have them breaking even is because they still have a very good team around them, like Jake mentioned. And Phillip Rivers last season didn't play to an MVP standard, and it shows that offense doesn't need a superstar quarterback. It needs a no-mess quarterback. And while Carson Wentz in his last year with Philadelphia definitely gave us enough messes, I think if he can rein himself in even a little bit, I think the rest of the team, especially that defense and the offensive line, has enough to drag them all the way back to 11 wins. So that's why I think they can break even. I don't think he's going to break out. I don't think we're going to see MVP Wentz. But if he can just be told, look, calm down, don't be heaving the ball downfield as much as you were with the Eagles, take what the defense is giving you on the other side, I think they can get back to 11 wins. We are nearly at the end of the list. We're at the second last team, and we're going to move on to an interesting one, and that is the Houston Texans. Now, we're going to stay away from some of the more controversial aspects of this team, and we're going to assume that Watson does not play next season, and that leaves us with two options. I think the most likely starter, we all agree, is Tyrod Taylor, but whether he can finish the season or not is another thing, and it would seem that the next best option is their new draftee, Davis Mills. The Texans only managed 4 wins last season. Dara, do you think they can make it back to 4 wins, even with the turmoil at quarterback?
No. This is a team made up of journeymen. I know we spoke to Graham from the Texans UK, and he was kind of bullish on they could do something next year, but I can't see it. Even with Tyrod there, they've got nothing on the outside to catch balls either. They've got the one thing they have got is a really good core of running backs, that might get them a couple of wins if they can drag it out. But like if they get 2 wins, I think they'll be doing well next year.
Jake?
It kind of all depends on me. I do agree with you, Dara. The team is just journeymen. I feel like it's made up just to last a year, get a high draft pick, and see where they can go from there. But I think if it's Tyrod from the start and he does the whole season, I say they get higher. I think they go for 5 or 6 wins. It's not unobtainable. It's the best team on the Sunday. It's not the best team throughout the league. So I certainly think they could get 5 wins. But if it's Davis Mills, I think that team's got a whole lot of trouble. I don't think Davis Mills was ever meant to start. I certainly think they just took him as a flyer, so he certainly meant to sit for the year and then see how he gets on. But if he starts, I think they're lower. I think they're probably the worst team in the league if he starts.
I have to say, I completely agree with you, Jake. I have exactly the same here in my notes. I think if Tyrod Taylor, he's a journeyman. Look, he did okay with the Chargers last season until they punctured his lung through no fault of his own. I think he can maybe scrape 4, maybe 5 wins. He's going to have to be lucky. Look, there's no way of getting around that. Like you said, there's almost no stars left on that team whatsoever. If Davis Mills gets in, I think that's the end of the story. Shut up shop as a Texans fan, and I think you go home and wait until next season. And even next season, I don't think you have any hopes of the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I've got actually a hot take for them. They're going to be the number 1 pick for the 2022 draft.
Okay.
I think they will have the worst record in the NFL next year.
Interesting. That's quite a hot take. Jake, have you any rebuttal to that? You want to add another team into the list, or you think that's a pretty good hot take by Mr. Dara?
I think it's a pretty solid hot take. I think I'll sit with Dara on that one. I'm certainly not taking a pitcher bet against it. I think it could be true.
Go on.
No,
you're already going to be losing loads next year anyway to fuel.
I think the point here is, Dara, what we're saying is your hot takes are too well considered, too well thought out. We need you to stick your neck out before we try and throw an ass at it. Okay,
the problem is his takes are not hot takes; they're lukewarm.
They're lukewarm. They're getting there. They're getting there. It's not boiling yet. Okay, let's be honest.
It's like
Ireland. It's Ireland in June. Okay, it's not. It's not
to have
Spain
a shower
in
without
July.
turning on the immersion, so the water was just a little bit hot.
Well, Ireland in June. Hold on, Fiona. I was out there earlier on. It is boiling out there.
It's sweltering today, guys. You can probably see we're sweating like
how
pigs.
warm it is.
Yeah, guys looking on YouTube are going to be like, the Under Center podcast have no makeup department, and they're absolutely right. We are shining here. It's about 22 degrees. There's no wind whatsoever, and we are sweating it out. We have made it. We have made it to the end of the list, though, guys. Actually, you know what? I'm going to throw in one more right at the end, but this is the last official one on the list that has a new quarterback, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. Most people would say that Garoppolo is almost certainly going to start the season, and we will more than likely see Trey Lance at some point if he can't cut the mustard. Could be next season, but in all likelihood, we will see him this season. They got last season 6 wins. Do we see that combination getting more than 6 wins or less than 6 wins? Jake, we can start with you.
So we're saying Trey Lance starts for the whole season.
We can cut it whatever way. If you want to give a caveat there, that's no problem.
I'll say, just for sake of argument, Trey Lance is starting from week 1. I think they get over. What did you say? 6 wins?
6 wins, yeah.
I think they get slightly over. That's a very strong team around them, strong coaching. They certainly missed maybe 4 of their starters on the defense, so I think that adds an immediate impact there. It's very speedy offense. A rookie quarterback sometimes can have them plays where he uses his legs. The defenses often don't know what to do with them. So I think he might get 2 or 3 wins at the start of the year and then squeak out some along the way.
Dara?
Yeah, I think they're going to get more wins. I think I err on the side of caution for 49er fans. And this is just totally unbiased, Dara. Don't worry about those jerseys in the background, okay? But the injury bug is starting to hit the 49ers again. During their OTAs, they've lost 3 starters already to serious injuries. So it's kind of like injuries and the 49ers, are going better together than pepper sauce on a steak, So I think that's going to have to be wary. Injuries are the thing that's going to derail their season. I don't think it'll be the quarterback.
It's garlic sauce on the steak, not pepper sauce.
Yeah,
you leave right now. You leave right now.
Okay? I think the 2 quarterback combo, I think they go down. I think they get to 5 wins. I don't think they drop off massively. And I think the main thing is Garoppolo's not going to cut the mustard. Trey Lance is going to come in, and he's a rookie, and he's not going to add that much value in his first season. So we've got to the end of the list. We're running a little bit tight on time.
Hold on, Fionn, before we let you go. Jake, garlic butter while you're cooking it. Pepper sauce when it's finished.
I know how to cook a steak, man. Don't you argue
cook your
with me
steak properly. You shouldn't put any sauce on it.
Oh, no.
Cook your steak well.
Can we keep
don't need sauce.
Can we cook
Otherwise, just
I think we can, Jake. Yeah.
Just buy the cheapest cut of meat then if you're going to pour peppercorn sauce all over it.
Buy it. No.
Buy a fillet and eat it like a man.
Ribeye is the tastiest cut of steak. Get out of here. But I'm with you there, Fionn. The sauce needs to be on the side at least. I never put anything on the top of it, but there certainly needs to be on the side of it. I'm a dipper. I don't like to pour it on top. But Dara, pepper sauce is way out there. A little bit of garlic butter, onions, bit of mushroom. Perfect.
Right, guys. I said I had one last thing before we get too deep into our steak talk, because we can go on for ages. The very last thing, and I just want a one-word answer. Who plays quarterback for the Green Bay Packers this season? Dara, go.
Blake Bortles.
Jake, go.
Garlic sauce.
And
Aaron Rodgers.
I'm gonna say Aaron Rodgers as well. We will, I'm sure, discuss that in the coming episodes. We're getting to the end of our off-season schedule of teams. There's not a whole lot going on even during the off-season, so I'm sure we'll get to that. This has been quite a long show. We're going to wrap it up here now. Before we go, please do obviously like and subscribe to us here on the Under Center podcast on YouTube. You'll also find us on Spotify and all the other major podcast stations if you prefer the audio version. And you can follow us as well on Facebook.com/Under Center podcast, Twitter and Instagram @UnderCenterPod. At the moment, we're on the chase for 1,000 followers, so please do follow us there. Drop us messages, get involved, see all the latest content. Jake, Dara,
we're gonna add to all these videos now. That's gonna be our new thing.
I thought that was the noise when we hit 1,000.
Jake is immediately fired for that. Okay, guys, don't worry. You won't. We won't. We're going to stay professional here at the Under Center podcast. We've crafted our image meticulously here, and Jake has lost the plot after one point.
I'm launching my own brand now.
Guys, thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun. A pleasure again to host. Hopefully we can all do it again in the future. Jake, thank you. Dara, thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Guys,
very much.
Stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.